You know, what happens when a country strikes gold or, I don't know, a massive oil field? It sounds like winning the lottery, right? A one-way ticket to prosperity for everyone. But what if I told you that incredible wealth was actually a trap? We're going to dive into a paradox that has literally shaped the fate of nations. And believe me, the story is way more complicated than you think.
Just think about it for a second. Billions, maybe even trillions of dollars in resources are found right under your feet. I mean, you're probably thinking, new schools, amazing hospitals, futuristic industries, the sky's the limit. But here's the crazy thing. For a whole lot of countries, that dream, it turns into a total nightmare fast.
And that right there is the paradox we're digging into. It's this completely backwards fact of economic history. You'd think countries overflowing with natural resources would be on top of the world. But nope. They often end up with slower growth, more conflict, and weaker governments than countries that have pretty much nothing. And this phenomenon, it has a name, the resource curse. All right, so let's get into it. First up, this idea of the paradox of plenty. I mean, how on earth can having more of something valuable actually make you poorer in the long run? It just doesn't seem to make sense. So here's the official breakdown. The resource curse is this bizarre reality where finding a ton of natural wealth doesn't launch you into the stratosphere economically. Instead, you just stagnate. The money pours in, sure, but the rest of the economy, the part that creates real sustainable jobs, it just withers. And there's a very specific reason for that. Yeah, this isn't just about bad luck. Think of the resource curse as a predictable economic sickness. It has very clear symptoms. And the most famous symptom, the one everyone talks about, is something called Dutch disease. So where'd that weird name come from? Well, it goes back to the 1960s, when the Netherlands found a massive natural gas field in the North Sea. They got super rich, super fast. But all that new wealth triggered this crazy chain reaction that completely crippled their manufacturing sector. It's like the ultimate lesson in unintended consequences. Okay, let's walk through how this sickness actually works, step by step. First, you get the resource boom, right? You're exporting tons of oil or whatever. All that foreign cash floods your country, which sounds great, but it makes your own currency super strong. And that strong currency, it's a double-edged sword. All of a sudden, everything else you make, your coffee, your clothes, your furniture, it becomes way too expensive for anyone else to buy. Your local farms and factories, they can't compete. They go out of business. And then, when the resources eventually run dry, you've got nothing left. The whole economy's been hollowed out. And this isn't just about economics. It gets political fast. See, when a government can just get its money from a handful of big oil companies, it doesn't really need to tax you, the citizen. And think about it. If you're not paying taxes, you're probably not demanding as much accountability from your leaders. That crucial link, that social contract between the government and its people, it just breaks. But okay, it's not all doom and gloom. Not everyone falls into this trap. Let's talk about the absolute gold standard for how to do this right, Norway. They found a ton of oil, but instead of getting sick with Dutch disease, they used it to become incredibly, sustainably wealthy. Just look at that number, almost $2 trillion. To put that in perspective, Norway's giant savings account is so big, it owns about 1.5% of every single publicly traded company on the planet. It's insane. They didn't just spend their oil money, they invested it big time. And this number, this is the secret sauce. It's pure discipline. Even with all that cash, the government has a super strict rule. They can only spend the profit the fund makes each year, which they figure is about 3%. Think of it like this. They never, ever touch the original piggy bank. They only spend the interest it earns. So how did they pull it off? Well, the system is brilliant in its simplicity. Every single dollar from oil goes straight into the fund. It never even touches the main government budget. This creates a firewall, separating the volatile oil money from the day-to-day spending. This move stabilizes the whole economy, protects it from oil price swings, and builds this massive nest egg for their children and their children's children. Oh, and they're super strict about only investing in ethical companies too. Okay, so that's the textbook success story. Now let's pivot and look at a really different case, the Philippines. They also had a huge natural gas discovery, and they set up something called the Malampaya Fund to manage the money. And on paper, the idea was fantastic. The royalties from this huge gas field, we're talking a project that powers a massive chunk of the country, were supposed to go into a special fund. And the goal was simple: use that money to find and develop even more energy sources for the future. But, well, that's not quite how it played out. For years, the fund was basically treated like a presidential slush fund, a pork barrel, as they say. The money was used for all sorts of projects that had absolutely nothing to do with energy. The original noble purpose got completely blurred. Things got so messy, it ended up in the Supreme Court, and the court came down with a final ruling. This money can only be used for energy projects, period. So, on one hand, the fund was finally safe from misuse. But on the other hand, it was now totally locked up. That money couldn't be used for anything else, not even a national emergency.
So, fast forward to today, and the Philippines has created a brand new sovereign fund called the Maharlika Investment Fund. But you gotta understand, this thing is a completely different beast compared to what Norway built.
This comparison table really lays it all out. Norway's fund, it's funded by a surplus, extra money from oil. The Philippines fund, it's funded with capital from government banks. The goal is totally different too. Norway's all about saving and stabilizing for the long haul. The Philippines is about investing for development right now. So one fund acts like a brake to cool the economy down, while the other is meant to be an accelerator to heat things up.
So, if you want to boil it all down to one single idea, it's this. Norway was saving a surplus for the future. They had too much money coming in. The Philippines, on the other hand, is investing while running a deficit, hoping to create new growth today. One is a savings account, the other is a venture capital fund.
And really, all of this, it all boils down to one single massive choice. It's a choice every single nation with a sudden windfall has to face. And the consequences? They're enormous.
So, let's put you in the driver's seat. Imagine you're in charge. Your country just found $50 billion worth of something valuable. The money is real, but the poverty around you is also very real. The decision is all yours. What do you do?
You've basically got three paths you can go down, and each one is loaded with risk. First, there's the populist route. Just give the cash directly to the people. Feels good, right? But you risk runaway inflation and you've got no long-term benefit. Or there's the infrastructure route. Build massive projects, new roads, new bridges. The risk there? Corruption, mismanagement, the money could just vanish. Finally, there's the Norwegian route. Save it all. Spend only the interest. The problem? You might get thrown out of office because people are struggling today and they want you to spend that money now. And that right there is the multi-billion-dollar question. Do you spend for today or do you save for tomorrow? It's this constant battle between what's politically popular right now and what's wise for the long term. There are no easy answers here, and every choice is a huge gamble. So I'll ask you again, what's the right choice?